Hello students, welcome back. Today we will study about the transportation in plants. In last video we read about the transportation in humans. In this video we will learn about the transportation in plants. As we know, the transportation is a very important process. So in both in human being as well as in plant as well as in animals, in all the living organisms, because it transport all the essential nutrients. Now, the transportation is a vital process in plants. This not only involves the transportation of water, it also involves the transportation of essential minerals, essential foods, and to all the parts of the plant for its survival. Now, food and water transportation takes place separately in plants. The food and water transportation takes separately in plants. Xylem transports water. Xylem conducts water from the roots to the upward part of the plant, to the different part of the plant. Xylem transports water from the roots to the different part of the plant, and phloem transports food from the leaves to the different part of the plant. Phloem transports food from the leaves to the different part of the plant. It's very necessary that you mention that xylem transports water from the roots to the different parts of the plant, and phloem transports food from the leaves to the different part of the plant. Now see, as we can see that the water and minerals, the dissolved minerals are known as sap. The dissolved minerals are known as sap. The water and minerals are taken up by the roots. You can see the blue color indicates the water and dissolved minerals. The blue water and minerals are taken up by the roots from the roots to the upward part of the plant. Whereas the glucose is formed in the leaves during photosynthesis. We read about this, that glucose is formed during photosynthesis, and the glucose is transported from the leaves to the different part of the plant. Okay, so glucose moves down to the growing root and to all the branches to all the parts of the plant. Now, as I have told you that there are two main conducting tissues. What are the two main conducting tissues in a plant? Xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem, collectively it forms a vascular bundle. Collectively we call it a vascular bundle. So xylem carries water and minerals from the roots to the other part of the plant. Phloem carries product of photosynthesis, that is glucose, from the leaves to the other part of the plant. Now, no energy is used in case of xylem, but in case of phloem, energy is used which is produced during photosynthesis. The ATP is used. Okay. Now, phloem, as we know, when it transports food from the leaves to the other part of the plant, so we call it translocation of food. What do we call? We call it translocation of food, translocation of nutrients and sugars like carbohydrates produced by the leaves to the areas of the plant that are metabolically active. It reaches to all the parts of the plant. Now, what are the components of the phloem tissue? What are the components of the phloem tissue? Sieve tubes, companion cell, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. These are the components of this tissue. And in case of phloem, it is bidirectional. The flow of material is bidirectional. There is a two-way flow. See, water and food from the down, and it is also flowing upward direction. So it is a bidirectional. Next, xylem. Now, as I told you, that xylem conducts water from the roots to all the other parts of the plant. Now, xylem tissue is also made up of tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. So, the flow of water, in case of the flow of food, it was bidirectional in phloem. But in case of xylem, it is unidirectional. In case of xylem, it is unidirectional. Okay, so it transports minerals and water from the roots to the upper part of the plant. It transports nutrients and food like amino acids, sugar from leaves to the growing parts of the plant. The movement in xylem is unidirectional. The movement in phloem is bidirectional. It contains what? Xylem parenchyma, The sclerenchyma is a dead fibers, we know that. Xylem parenchyma, tracheids and vessel elements. In phloem, it consists of companion cell, phloem parenchyma, sieve tubes and phloem fibers. Now, the nature of this xylem tissue is a hollow dead cells. It is a hollow dead cell. But whereas the phloem tissues are living. They are living with cytoplasm but without the nucleus. It is living with the cytoplasm but it lacks nucleus. The tissue are present in the center of the vascular bundle, and in this it is present outside of the vascular bundle. As I told you that xylem and phloem collectively it forms a vascular bundle. So this is the structure of the xylem and phloem. As I told you that xylem flows unidirectional. See, it is flowing only in the upward direction, but it is a phloem flows bidirectional. There is a two-way flow. Clear? One-way flow. This is conducting water and minerals, and it has thick walls tipped with lignin. It is a non-living. Okay, but this is living. It has cytoplasm, but it lacks nucleus. Now, when the water is flowing through the xylem, definitely it is creating a pressure on the roots. When the water is flowing, when the water is absorbed from the soil to the root by the process of osmosis, when the water is absorbed by the roots by the process of osmosis from the soil, when it moves from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, through the semi-permeable membrane, root hair here acts as a semi-permeable membrane. Root hairs here acts as a semi-permeable membrane, which is due to the many forces acting together. So this pressure is called root pressure. What are the forces? The forces are cohesion and adhesion. Cohesion, the sticking of the two water molecules, and adhere, it is adhering to each other. So one of these forces responsible for this is called root pressure. What is the definition of the root pressure? Root pressure is the osmotic pressure within the cells of a root system that causes sap. Now what did I tell you in the beginning only? Sap means dissolved minerals, the minerals which are dissolved in water, to rise plant through the stem to the leaves. Now root pressure helps in the initial transports of water up to the roots. Now, translocation of food. As I told you that who helps in translocation of food? Phloem. So, who helps in ascent of sap? Now, what do you mean by ascent of sap? The upward movement of water. Okay. So, for the translocation of food, phloem tissue is responsible. For the ascent of sap, xylem tissue is responsible. So, when there is a photosynthesis, the sugar and the organic molecule, amino acid, organic acid, these all are formed. These are transported through phloem. Now there are materials like sucrose, which is loaded from in the leaves. From the leaves to phloem, it transports by using the energy. We have already read this. Such a transfer increases the osmotic pressure, causing movement of water. Now this only when there is a too much solute. There is a, as we read in osmosis, that the solute concentration is higher, so there would be an endoosmosis takes place, right? The endoosmosis takes place. The water from nearby cells, it enters into the neighboring cells, and the material get transported through the phloem. The same pressure is also responsible for the transport of substances from phloem to tissue where food is required. Okay. Now, thus the bulk flow of material through phloem takes place in response to an osmotic generated pressure difference. There is a difference in the concentration gradient. As a result, the movement takes place. So this is how it takes place. This is the schematic diagram. See, transpiration of water or the ascent of sap, it takes place. Now water moves from the xylem to the phloem. Why? Because the concentration of sucrose is much more in phloem during photosynthesis. So water moves from the xylem tissue to the phloem. As a result, the translocation of sucrose takes place. It is a bidirectional. It is a bidirectional. Okay, when the water comes out from the cell, as a result the cell shrinks. Why? Due to exosmosis, the cell gets flaccid. When the water enters in the cell by the process of endoosmosis, the cell gets swell. The cell gets swell. Cell swells down. Now, what do you mean by transpiration? Transpiration is the process in which the excess water which is there in the plant, the excess water is lost in the form of water vapor. It is lost in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant. From the aerial parts of the plant. Okay. So what are the aerial parts? Aerial parts. The aerial parts are the parts which are in air, like root and stem. These are in the air. Root is in underground, so it is not in the air. So we will not. It is not the aerial part of the plant. The root and stem is the aerial part of the plant. So the excess water which is stored, in the form of, which is lost in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant. Now, what is the role of transpiration? Absorption and upward movement of water and minerals. This creates a transpirational pool. And this upward movement of water is known as ascent of sap. Okay, and this ascent of sap is occurred due to the transpirational pool. And when there is a when there is a loss of water in the form of water vapor, as a result it condenses and it forms cloud, and when it precipitates it brings rain. So it also helps in temperature regulation in plants. I am repeating myself. When the excess of water is released in the form of vapor from the aerial part of the plant, it condenses and it forms a cloud. As a result, it precipitates and it brings rain. So, we can say that it helps in temperature regulation in plant. Thank you. So, I hope this video is clear. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Till then, please take care and do watch the videos. Bye-bye.